This is one of the heaviest buildings on Earth, designed by 700 architects and once buzzing with 20,000 workers day and night. It used more marble than the Roman Empire and more concrete than a nuclear bunker. But this isn't just a palace, it's a paranoid fever dream carved in stone, and buried deep inside is a secret they tried to keep hidden. The truths are something unreal. Let's get into it. To understand how Romania ended up with the world's heaviest building, you have to understand the man behind it, Nicolae Ceaușescu. Rising to power in 1965, Ceaușescu wasn't just another communist leader. At first, he played the West and the East like a master manipulator, denouncing Soviet invasions while securing Western loans. But by the 1970s, the image began to rot. What started as populist charm twisted into full-blown paranoia. He didn't just want to lead Romania, he wanted to redesign it, literally. Ceaușescu envisioned a state so centralized that even the streets would fall in line. He created a hyper-controlled, surveillance-heavy society powered by a personality cult. Portraits of him hung like wallpaper, his speeches aired 24/7, and even poetry was written in his honor. But one event gave him the perfect excuse to wipe the slate clean: the 1977 Vrancea earthquake. The quake devastated Bucharest. Over 1,500 lives were lost and major buildings collapsed. But to Ceaușescu, it wasn't just a disaster, it was a divine opening. He declared that the old city had failed the people. What Romania needed wasn't just rebuilding, it needed purification. A city reborn under socialism. Gone would be the winding streets, classical facades, and bourgeois neighborhoods. In their place, straight boulevards, brutalist slabs, and one colossal centerpiece: the Palace of the Parliament. This wasn't urban planning, it was ideological erasure disguised as recovery. Ceaușescu wasn't just clearing rubble, he was clearing memory. Isn't it chilling? A natural disaster became a tool of authoritarian resurgence. And it was just the beginning. Ceaușescu didn't just want a building, he wanted a monument to himself. A symbol so massive, so overwhelming, that it would outlive him and eclipse every trace of old Romania. He called it the victory of socialism. At its heart was a three-pronged mega-project designed to showcase total ideological control through architecture. First, the centerpiece, the Palace of the People, now known as the Palace of the Parliament. It was meant to be the crown jewel of a new socialist capital. Offices for top communist officials, grand halls for ceremonies, and a bunker deep underground, all encased in a mountain of marble. Its size alone was a political statement. Second largest administrative building in the world, heavier than the Pentagon and consuming more electricity than an entire district. Second, a sweeping boulevard to frame it, Boulevardul Unirii, which Ceaușescu demanded be 1 meter wider than the Champs-Élysées in Paris. Straight, symmetrical, and obsessively landscaped, it was designed for military parades and to showcase the power of the state. On this road, even nature was arranged into submission. Third, a ring of luxury housing reserved for party elites and loyalists. While the rest of Romania plunged into food rationing and blackouts, these flats had heating, elevators, and private gardens, a showcase of socialist hypocrisy. Inspiration came from his state visits to Pyongyang and Beijing. Ceaușescu admired North Korea's Kim Il-sung and China's Mao for their ability to command the physical world with ideology. He took notes, and then took it further. Scale wasn't just a design choice, it was domination. The project bulldozed over 7 square kilometers of historic Bucharest. Hundreds of churches, synagogues, and 19th century buildings were razed. You know why? Because nothing was allowed to compete with Ceaușescu's vision. Not history, not religion, not beauty, only obedience carved in concrete. Before Ceaușescu's dream could rise, something else had to fail. A city within a city, wiped off the map. What disappeared wasn't just buildings, but generations of memories, culture, and life. Can you believe it? To build his dream, Ceaușescu first had to erase everyone else's. An estimated 40,000 people were displaced to make way for his civic center. families forced from their homes with just a few days' notice. Entire neighborhoods, some centuries old, were flattened. Communities vanished overnight. What rose in their place wasn't just concrete, it was silence. Over 20 churches were demolished. Others were wrapped, hidden, or bizarrely moved on rails and relocated like furniture. Because nothing, not even sacred ground, was allowed to disrupt the ruler's geometry. Jewish synagogues, hospitals, and schools are gone. Ceaușescu didn't just redesign the city, he rewrote it. And while the people sacrificed homes, history, and identity, Ceaușescu fixated on fantasy. He micromanaged every inch of the palace. Not just the blueprints or budgets. Nicolae Ceaușescu personally approved everything, from the shape of the doorknobs to the exact tilt of chandeliers. A room full of architects and engineers could be kept waiting for hours just to get his verdict on a light fixture. It wasn't just architecture, it was theatre, and he was the sole director. Inside, extravagance was the rule. Romanian marble flowed in by the ton from Transylvania. Carpets were hand-woven for over a year, custom-fitted to each grand hall. Some chandeliers, made of hand-cut crystal, were so enormous the ceilings had to be reinforced to hold their weight. At the peak of construction, around 9,000 workers laboured daily, often under harsh, grinding conditions. Many were soldiers, others were conscripted workers pushed to their limits. The project ran 24/7, under constant surveillance and absolute control. Every beam, every curtain, every thread was meant to scream grandeur, but it also whispered something else. Paranoia, control, obsession. The palace wasn't just a building, it was Ceaușescu's ego turned to stone. Lavish, overwhelming, and ultimately tragic. And the cost? Financial estimates are still debated, but some place it at over $4 billion, adjusted for inflation. That's in a country where, by the late 1980s, rationing was the norm. Bread, milk, and electricity were luxuries for the masses, while their leader built an imperial fortress. It wasn't just a building, it was a delirious monument to control, erected with national sacrifice. A fantasy so indulgent it turned into a scar, a brutalist legacy paid for in memories, bricks, and broken lives. Isn't it chilling how the most oppressive regimes often build the most beautiful ruins? If Ceaușescu's power was absolute, his palace would have to be too. Construction on the Palace of the People began in 1984, and from the start it was treated like a national emergency. Work didn't stop, not at night, not on holidays. Shifts ran 24/7, with spotlights illuminating the skeletal frame through the darkest hours. The site buzzed with nearly 20,000 labourers, including conscripted soldiers and, according to some reports, political prisoners. Surveillance was constant. Mistakes weren't just corrected, they were punished. And everything, down to the last tile, had to be Romanian-made. The marble came from Transylvania, the oak was from native forests, brass fittings were handcrafted by Romanian artisans. Ceaușescu wouldn't allow even a single screw from the West. It wasn't just nationalism, it was a statement. We can build our empire alone. By the time the exterior neared completion, the cost had ballooned to what today would be around $3 billion. That's a staggering amount for any country, but in a nation already buckling under debt and austerity, it was catastrophic. Meanwhile, food lines grew longer, electricity was rationed, and winter heating became a dream for the average Romanian. And what did all that effort build? 12 stories above ground, 8 underground, over 3,000 rooms. Many of them, especially the lower levels, still sit unused to this day. Some have no electricity, others were finished then immediately sealed off. No one, not even modern administrators, can fully explain what all the rooms were meant for. This wasn't a functional seat of government, it was a mausoleum for an ego, a colossal trophy of paranoia and power hoarding. The bigger it got, the less human it became, until it felt less like a building and more like a prison built to trap the past inside it. Here's the twist. Ceaușescu never stepped foot inside his completed palace. By December 1989, the Romanian Revolution was in full swing. Protesters flooded the streets, the regime collapsed, and Nicolae Ceaușescu, along with his wife Elena, was captured and executed by firing squad on Christmas Day. At the time, the Palace of the People was still under construction, just a hollow shell of tyranny wrapped in marble. The regime's greatest monument had become its unfinished tomb. Today, the building is still not entirely complete. Some wings remain closed off, corridors lead to nowhere, and certain floors lack electricity altogether. Despite consuming more materials than any other building in Romanian history, it stands incomplete, a fitting metaphor for Ceaușescu's doomed dream. Intended to showcase absolute control and socialist perfection, the palace now symbolizes collapse. Architects once feared speaking against it, but now it's dubbed the skeleton of dictatorship by cultural critics. But here's the paradox. Many Romanians are conflicted. Yes, it was born from oppression, but it's also an architectural marvel, crafted with immense skill by local workers. It's a bizarre blend of national pride and national trauma, a concrete contradiction. As one Romanian put it, we built a monster, but it's our monster. Today, the Palace of the Parliament is a paradox in motion. It functions as the official seat of Romania's parliament. Parts of it house the Museum of Contemporary Art, and it even moonlights as a venue for fashion shows, concerts, and international conferences. But make no mistake, it's still a burden. The Romanian government spends tens of millions of euros every year just to maintain this colossal relic. Heating, lighting, and cleaning the 3,000-plus rooms is a logistical and financial nightmare. To tourists, it's a jaw-dropping curiosity. They marvel at the chandeliers, the velvet staircases, the endless halls. But to many locals, it's a haunting reminder of displacement, control, and unchecked power. And so the debate continues. What do you do with a monument built for tyranny? Some argue it should be demolished, others want it preserved as a cautionary landmark. There are also calls to reimagine the space, to fill its halls with art, education, and public dialogue, turning a symbol of oppression into one of rebirth. But perhaps the real value of the palace lies not in what it contains, but in what it represents. It was built to last forever, but so were the regimes and ideologies that erected it. They fell. The concrete survived. Now we must ask, what do we do when monuments outlive their meaning? And that's all about it. If you liked this video, please give a thumbs up, and if you like more updates, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell icon so you don't miss any videos and get notifications on time. Don't hesitate to give suggestions for our videos. See you in the next one.